Hey YouTubers, just picked up this Frigidaire gas dryer that was sitting on the curb. Got it plugged in. I want to just see if it starts or not. I'm not sure what's wrong with it. So let's get it set for start. Press the start button. I hear the motor moving, but the drum is not moving. Maybe this is a broken belt. Yeah, I'd say it's just maybe a broken belt. Let's see now if I reach in there, can I move this easily? Oh yeah. So you can tell too when these move very easily, there's no resistance because the belt is not connected to the motor. The motor should create a little bit of drag. So in this instance, this is probably just a broken belt. That'll be easy to fix. So to fix this, I think we're just going to need a paint scraper and a Phillips head screwdriver. So we'll go ahead and unplug it first. And then we're going to use the paint scraper, come in between the top panel and the cabinet, a couple inches in, I think. There's a clip we're going to push in. There we go. So I push this in underneath. It lifts up, try this side. Yeah, okay. And then you can hinge the whole thing up. So, hinge that back. So you can see how it pivots. And that should hold up on its own. Yeah, that's fine. We're going to need to remove this little guy here. And then I'm going to remove this one here. I think these are maybe 1/4 inch. One over there. We're going to take these leads off, make sure it's unplugged. And we should be able to get off the front panel and we can do the belt change. You can see there's no belt because it broke and fell down in there somewhere. So probably replacing the belt's going to do the trick. So now to remove the front panel to get the belt off, we're going to remove these two spade connectors that are for the door switch. And you might need, you know, some needle-nose pliers to help you. Be careful, watch out for these sharp edges. And once you get those off, you just have to take out a couple of screws. These are 5/16. Zip those out. And then we get the other side, and then we should be able to get the panel off. You'll notice that it has these spring-loaded clips, so once you get everything loosened, you have to pull a little bit to get this panel to come free. We'll get the other side over here. These are pretty good dryers. This is the gas version. I'll show you some of the gas parts in there too. Get that screw out of there. And now we've got to get this out too, because we have to remove this drum or tumbler, and this thing kind of holds it in. So we got to pull that 5/16 screw. Alright, so now we're going to pull the front panel off. We're going to pull toward us. I've got loose that one clip down there. Try this side. There we go. And now we can lift up on the bottom. There's a clip on either side. You have to kind of lift up towards you to get this off. Loosen it up, pull this side. There's that little spacer. So let's see if we can pull this up now. But there are clips down here. We just have to pull up a little harder. Got that one out, and we'll do the other side. Same thing. Hold this down. There we go. Okay, we got that out. So I'm going to get the front plate out of here. I noticed that this foam front bearing is supposed to have a plastic glide here and here and here, and two of them have been rubbed off, so I'll probably replace that too. Get this out of here. So we'll look inside, see what's going on with that belt. And we can see this dryer hasn't been open for a long time, but you can see the dryer's belt has broken, fallen off inside. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to lift this drum out of here. And to do that, I just have to lift up the back of the drum up by about an inch. What it's got in there is like a ball inside of a socket. I have to lift the ball out. The ball is attached to this thing. Do that one-handed or not? Probably not. Okay, it took a little bit of force, but I got it out. There's that ball in there. So I can take the whole drum out now. I'm gonna finagle it out inside this opening here. There's that ball, and there's the socket it fits into. Everything's pretty dirty. This probably hasn't been opened for its entire life. Okay, there's the motor down there, and there's our broken belt. Get that out of there. So we'll just be replacing the belt. Normally you would not have to take this drum out, but I did because I wanted to do a couple of maintenance issues. I just want to clear up all this lint, clean up the motor, get this all policed up in here, get rid of all this burnt lint. I'll probably be replacing these 2 gas valves to create a better flame. I might replace the igniter and just do a little maintenance while I'm in here. And if you ever have one of these gas dryers that won't heat, the culprit could be a bad igniter. Could be that these gas coils are worn out and they're no longer letting the gas flow in. Could also be, though, this part right here, which is a high limit. And if you ever wanted to see if that's the cause, you can put your continuity tester on these 2 leads. Make sure again it's unplugged, and you should hear continuity. If you don't, then this is tripped and you just have to replace it. And these Frigidaire dryers, both the gas and the electric, have this same high limit. You don't have to take it all apart though like we did. You can just lift up the top and you can get to this. Even though the drum is in position, you can get to this part, remove some screws, and pop a new one in. Let's test that real quick. All right, we got our probes on there. We're gonna see if there's some continuity. Yeah, I can hear that beep. I'm getting a continuity reading. So we know this high limit is okay, but if you ever have no heat, that could be your culprit. They're in continuity. So we're just gonna clean this up and then we'll show you guys the next part of the video. So while we have this Frigidaire dryer open, we're going to use a little contact cleaner to clean the motor, and this is just a gold paintbrush to kind of get the bigger stuff and dust away from the motor first. Then we can use the spray to get in there and do a little bit more cleaning, and see what happens to these dryers when they get a lot of dust built up. Is the motor can't keep itself cool anymore. It has these cooling fins right here. So these are really important that we get these clear of any dust. A lot of times there's so much dust built up over these fins that the motor overheats, and then it'll stop spinning, and after it cools down it'll work again. But the problem will keep repeating because the dryer just can't really cool itself down because it's just too clogged up. Now we're going to use contact cleaner. Don't breathe this stuff in. Hold your breath. Now I'm going to spin it a little bit. Spray a little bit more. All right, that looks good. Looks like new motor again. It's gonna run a lot better. I'm behind the dryer drum. I'm using that brush again to get into where these holes are, and these holes can get filled up also with lint, and you get limited airflow, and then it's not going to dry as well. So use your brush on that, and then you got to get something inside there like a flathead screwdriver to get rid of all that crud builds up. But the brush will just get it started. Get rid of the main stuff. So you got like a toothbrush essentially to get in to that tighter area, get all that stuff out. You can't really do this unless you get the drum out of the machine. A lot of that stuff came out, and that's definitely going to help that airflow. So if your dryer is just taking a long time to dry, it could be that these two things called gas coils are just not strong enough to lift up a pin to allow the gas to flow and create a flame long enough. And on this model, it's kind of cool. You don't have to take this all apart. It has a door here. Take out this screw at the bottom, then the door can be opened like this, and you can just get in here and do this gas valve thing easily from just working through this hole right here. And on a lot of models you can't. You have to take off the front panel like we've done here. But to do this is not bad at all. You can just grab this modular connector, kind of wiggle to pull that one off. Same with the one on the bottom. So we've got those two power connectors for the gas coils off, the primary and secondary gas coils. And now if you're working from inside that narrow door, you got to get these two Phillips head screws out. You could use a short Phillips head screwdriver. You could use a power one like this with a 90-degree angle. Now that, because we have this so open, we just have to pull these two Phillips head screws, and that'll be easy. Remember, if you're working inside this door though, you have to consider you have the drum here. There's not much space, but a little ratchet with a Phillips head can still get these guys out. Okay, and once you get that out, you can lift this little cover off, and then pull out your new gas coils. And I'm going to replace this one first, so I take off the old one. Check inside here, make sure there's not a little silver sleeve. If there is, you can pop it out and have it put into the new one. I'm going to put the old one away and clean this out a little bit where it sat of the dust. It's not critical for function, but it doesn't hurt to do that. Put this one in with the prongs down and this little plastic tab pointing up. Take off the skinny one, put that off to the side, get the new one, and little plastic tab up. This time the prongs are up at the top. And we take the metal plate, it has little holes where the plastic tabs go in. So we get that in position, and we kind of have to wiggle the valves around until they line up those plastic tabs. There's a tab, there's a tab, it looks good. We'll put those screws back in, and that's about it. And that should give you a stronger pull on the pins, and the flame will last longer. The flame should last about 3 minutes. If the dryer's cold and you first start it, open up this thing and you stare in, you should see a big flame in that burner tube for about 3 minutes, and then you know you're good. If you look in there and the flame's going out after about a minute, these are probably worn out. The other thing to consider though is on the other side of this vent tube is the vent tube that goes out and leaves your house. If that's clogged up, that's going to cause some weird symptoms, and that could also be why your clothes take a long time to dry. So that's the most likely culprit when you have a long dry duration for your clothes. So I would try that first, cleaning that vent tube really well and test it. But if it's still a problem, or if you open this door and you notice that that's going out after about a minute, you just got to put these new gas coils in. So I put the power connectors back on, and that's it. The other thing that you could think of if you have a situation where you have no drying at all is you may have the gas turned off. Make sure the gas is turned on. You can check continuity up here for this high limit. Make sure it has continuity. And you could maybe replace this igniter back here. And you have to just take out these 2¼ inch screws right here. But there's not much working space, so you probably have to have a little ratchet in there. You can get the igniter out of there. This thing hardly ever fails. It's called a flame sensor. But you should have continuity between these two wires if you have a continuity tester. If you don't, you can replace this thing. These parts are really inexpensive. We'll put a link in the description below for you to get gas coils, an igniter, flame sensor, belt, and also a rear bearing. We'll show you how to replace that today too. We got things cleaned up better. We got new coils in there. And next up, we will redo that rear bearing. The rear bearing, the symptom would be you hear a high-pitched metal on metal sound, and the ball is now making contact with this little BB in the back, and it's making that metal to metal sound, and that's just a way to let you know it's time to replace the rear bearing and this plastic socket. You put a new socket in, you put new lubrication in. So I'll show you guys how to do that. Let's do that rear bearing now. This is part number from Electrolux. It's a 53032, I think it's 01153. And we're going to replace this plastic cup. First up, it lives right here. It has two 5/16 screws. We're going to pull those out. If you have this stacked up, what I would advise doing before you pull those, this is stacked up on top of a washer, put some tape behind here so this plate won't fall off. If it's just the way it is now, don't worry about it. You can let the plate fall off, but put some tape over so when you undo these screws, this plate stays where it is. All right, let's undo those screws. All right, we'll undo those screws. Long 5/16. Comes out. So that's just a bracket that holds it in. Two screws. And here's the little cup. And behind it was a BB. This one's kind of worn out. And also there's some nice high temperature lubricant that goes in there. This and all the lubricants all dried out over the years. So let's replace that. So our new kit comes with a new ball bearing. Alright, I'm going to take this high temperature lubricant, put a little bit right here on the back of this plastic cup. And then I'm going to take the little BB that comes with the kit and put it there. And that's just to kind of hold it in place. And then this plate's going to make contact with it. And that's so that the metal from the bearing can make contact with the BB, and that'll make contact with that, which makes contact with the frame so you don't develop a static charge. It's pretty cool. All right, let's go ahead and put this together now. This. Put these screws in to start it. All right, and they screw into this back plate. So we're gonna now do that part of it. Okay, you got the cup in position with the screws going through, and on the back, I've got that plate. Got one of the screws going through, so I'll go ahead and do the next screw. And that'll be for the rear bearing cup. This is 5/16. Now it's tight. Now it's tight. And now we're going to fill this with some of that high temperature grease. All right, we got that filled up with the high temperature grease, and when that socket goes in there, it's going to be a really good lubricant that'll last a long time. All right, so we've got the bearing, we've got these screws. What you want to do before you install this is put these screws in position, and then you want to drive these in so they can cut their own threads, because if you try to do this before doing this procedure, it's really hard to get these screws in. So while you're holding it, you can take your Phillips head screwdriver and just force it in. It's going to take a little bit of force to start these threads. But that just cut its own thread. And now it's going to go in a lot easier later. So I'll go to the second hole, repeat the process. That cut its own thread. Go to the third hole, repeat the process. I'm just using the same screw, that's okay. Pull it out. Okay, that's going to go in a lot easier, so that's a good step to take. Now I'll remove the old rear bearing from the drum. So we have the drum out in position. I'm going to just pull out these existing screws. Pull these screws out. You can see from the old one that there's kind of a hole drilled in there from the old BB, so that thing had been pretty worn out. So we got the new one in position. One of the screws is in, holding it already. And we'll put in the other two screws. The belt on there, and then we're pretty much done. There's the third one. Okay, got it. So now we have a new rear bearing. It looks really nice. We have the socket all ready to receive it. Let's go ahead and put it in. All right, so I'm going to lift that socket a little bit so it can drop down into, I'm sorry, that ball bearing there, so it can drop down into that plastic socket. Okay, we got the drum back into position, so we're going to put the belt over the drum. Okay, I've got the belt now over the old mark that was on the drum before, so I'm going to let that drop down, and we're going to now loop it over the either wheel and the motor pulley. You'll notice there's a panel here in the back of the dryer. We're going to remove these two screws to get this off to give you a better view of the belt. All right, so we'll go ahead and pull that out, get the plate out of there, and you can see now, you can see the belt pretty good from back here. So this is a nice access path. You can do it from the front too. There's a little bit of room on that side and that side to put your hands in to do it, but it's a little more fun to do it back here because you can see better. All right, so what I want to do, notice it has a lot of spring tension. I'll get this belt to go over here, make a loop, get that put over the motor pulley, and that should do the trick. All right, we're going to go ahead and put on the front panel. So I'm going to drop it down onto these clips here at the bottom. There's one there. There's one on this side. Got some crud in there. Look at that. Down that little clip. Okay. Push down a little bit. Those are on the bottom clips, and now this has to lift up onto this bearing, and this one and this one have to go into the holes here, and the same on the other side. So I'm going to bring that forward. Those holes are lining up pretty good. Lift up to line up that bearing better, pushing in. Get that to clip in. Okay, that side's in. Get this one to clip in. go. Now we can add that thing back and add the screws back and add the wires back. Okay, I'm putting those 5/8 screws back in there. Got it. All right, let's put on these little wires for the door switch, and they don't worry which one goes on where, because it's there's no polarity problem. It's just closing a switch. One's on. Move that one on. All right, we got that. All the screws are on. We're going to close the top now. Just hinge it. It's going to come down on these clips. Clicked in. Clicked in. Plug it in and see how it sounds. Okay, we got it plugged in. Let's see if it starts up. Yeah, it's spinning good. Pretty quiet dryer. Yeah, it looks good. So when you're testing the igniter, you don't want it to be on the cool down because it won't heat up. So let's go to the more dry. Let's check the igniter now. There's some glowing. That looks good. We don't have the gas hooked up, but that igniter looks like it's glowing really good. So everything should be working. Okay, we're near the last part. We're just gonna put this plate back in. Put the screw in that holds it down at the bottom. So it's gonna fit into these little grooves right here first. There we go. Okay, we'll go put the screw in there. Yeah, give it a little push at the top. Our video, and please subscribe to our channel when you get a chance, and also click the little bell notification button so we can send you weekly videos on all the different ways of fixing appliances around your home and saving you lots of money. So thanks again for watching, and please also press the like button for our video if this was helpful to you. To contact me at the email listed below, which is scottthefixitguy@yahoo.com, with any of your questions.